Welcome to our version of a love letter to humanity. I'm Victoria Marie, certified and credentialed life coach and well-being guide. Today is March 25th, 2020. Globally, mankind has been affected by Covid-19. I'm here with my guest and my friend, Krissy Harb. And before we even get into what's going on globally, as well as some conversation, she and I are going to get grounded here in this space, in this time, and you're also welcome to join us. So I'd ask that we each close our eyes, take a deep breath in through the nostrils, hold, 2, 3, and exhale through the mouth. And another inhale through the nose. Deep, deep inhale, oxygenating the 77 trillion cells in our bodies. And exhaling through the mouth, releasing toxins, negative energy, and the things that hold and bind us. In this very special, sacred time that we are sharing, we are communion, we are sharing our energy, our life vitality, and our light. With feet firm and grounded into the earth, we are in gratitude for Mother Earth, who continues to nourish and revitalize our being, our planet, and this universal energy. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this gathering. And thank you for the moment to ground into the conversation and the energy we are about to share. And so it is. Okay. Well, thank you for allowing that moment to get grounded. No matter where we are, what we're doing, it's always so imperative to get grounded and to feel deep into our space around us. You probably hear the click clack. That's my dog, Blue. He loves to be involved, especially when it's of love. Blue is built around love. He is the epitome of love. So anything that we are doing in that energy, he's all in. So you may hear him in the background. Okay, so today we're here to talk about, and because of our, like I said earlier, globally mankind has been affected by COVID-19. And as a globe, as a community, we're being asked to stay in place, to self-quarantine and isolate ourselves, except for outings to obtain essential items. We're being asked to do so by our city and state leaders in community effort to flatten the curve of the numbers already affected and potentially infected by the virus and the possible deaths that may occur. So when I asked you to join me, I had been thinking, had been stirring and whispering in me and contemplating in the physical material world that we are in. We're in uncertain times right now. Sometimes it seems scary and frenetic energy as many people react to their true nature as human beings, the true nature of fight or flight. And for a good portion of our humankind, our humanity, we know this is a time to elevate in our understanding and expression as souls in human form. So today, my divine friend that I have the great fortune to know, not only through business, but even better as a friend and as a partner in up-leveling our community and the global energy. So I would like to introduce Krissy Harb. And sweet Krissy, if you would introduce yourself in your own words, share a bit about your business and your background.
Thank you so much. This already has been such an amazing recording with you. I already feel like this is really where we're supposed to be, you and I, right now. So thank you. My name is Krissy Harb, and I'm the owner of Spiritual Heart Yoga Center. It's a small yoga studio in our beautiful community of Montrose and the foothills of Los Angeles. I have the pleasure of knowing Victoria through the community, and to have an amazing divine woman as a leader in our community is the most amazing thing. So grateful for that. Yeah, and we recently transitioned all of our yoga classes online. So that's what I've been working on as of, the last week or so. And it's been going really well. Gratefully, everyone is still needing their yoga, even if it's from their home, which doesn't really surprise me given the dedication of our community. Our yogis are so dedicated to their practice. So this morning in my little meditation, I was like, I'm so inspired by them, but also not really surprised because they are so dedicated. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay. And a little bit about your background. How did you become the owner of one of the nicest, definitely loving energy yoga studios I've ever been into? And I've traveled the globe. So if you'd share that with us.
Yeah, so I grew up in this area, but I went to college in San Luis Obispo at Cal Poly. I studied agricultural business and wine and viticulture. I worked in the wineries for a while. I worked at an olive oil farm as their tasting room manager out of school, and it was in college where I seriously got into yoga and developed a really strong physical practice. And I met my teacher up there. And I always knew that I wanted to do a yoga teacher training, but it wasn't with the right person. So when I finally met my teacher and saw that she was offering her first ever 200-hour yoga teacher training, I did it. And it was totally transformative, physically, mainly emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Such a transformation occurred. And even before that, I always knew that I would own a yoga studio. I just knew it. It was something, you just know these things that are part of your path. And my great aunt, who passed away in 2014 right after I graduated college, right before I was going to start my teacher training, she left me with a little bit of money so I could do my yoga teacher training, and I was able to do it. And this is so strange and synchronistic. Where she lived was right across the street from the yoga studio. It was always a yoga studio. A woman named Lori owned it for 30 years, and she was ready to retire. And my dad called me and said, "You got to come check out this studio. It's in Montrose, right where you grew up." I was still living in San Luis Obispo, and I was not ready to leave. I was looking at yoga studios up there too, to buy or to start. And I came down and looked at it, and it just was perfect. Everything about it was not easy. It wasn't an easy process doing it, but it was very easeful. Everything fell into place the way it was meant to. And that's how, and the community already was there, which was so amazing. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And now here I am almost 3 years later.
Thank you for sharing with us and letting us all know who you are, about your beautiful studio and your background.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and again, thank you for accepting my invitation to hold light and conversation. And the topic that really was stirring with me, and you said yes to, is this idiom of finding your voice, identifying your authentic self. And what does that mean to identify your authentic self in a society, in a world of social networking, social marketing, where everyone has a handle, whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is. All of us have these handles and avatars that represent who we are, but there seems to be somewhat of a disconnect. And how have we come to utilize these handles to identify who we truly are if we aren't aware of who we truly are? So I really, when COVID-19 came about, this virus, it's an assault on our respiratory system. And of course, immediately I go beyond the physical material world and I start thinking um, spiritually and esoterically, what, why is this here? What is it here to teach us? And with that, are we being forced to get real with who we are and what we put out into the world of our authentic self and our so-called handle? So, Krissy, I'd like to get some of your insight on this call upon our human race. And is this an esoteric idea or a universal idea that this pandemic is a force for us to focus on our authentic self? And when you and I spoke earlier, that throat chakra. So, if you can give us your
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. So I actually do a lot of work with the chakras, and I immediately also thought of, the subtle body like disease that's going on a global level in our own, our own individual subtle body, which throat chakra is this space at the base of your throat. It governs, your speech, governs your thyroid, your immune function, and it's this space where we can authentically speak our truth. But oftentimes, so many times, especially in our society, we forget that in order to speak our truth, we have to go within and we have to silence the external noise and listen. So it's in that listening to our own inner wisdom, our own inner truth, our own inner light, that connection, where we can then from that space speak, from our authentic self. That's the only way we can communicate what it is we want to communicate in the world, if we slow down and listen. And then the respiratory system is the heart chakra. So it's this being able to give and receive love unconditionally, our own first, and then, to the world, to the people around us, etc. So it is this amazing connection. If you even want to go deeper at, there's a lot of stuff about the solar plexus too, which is right above your belly button, your center of power, your center of moving from a space of really like deep intention. But all of that really requires us to slow down, which we are being forced um, to turn off the, our external stimulation, which we are constantly bombarded with in our social media handles and the news and everything, and really just go inward and see what's there. And it's from that space, like I said, that we can, authentically communicate our truth.
Ah, very good. You're so wise. I love, no matter your young age, I'm in my early 50s, so I think of you as young. Um, you have this maturity and this understanding, not just in how you speak, but how you navigate yourself through the world and how you connect and guide. So I'm very, very drawn to that. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to share, whether it's each day when the studio was open, as your students come to class, I've watched families walk by your studio and stop in and wave, and their kids so excited to see you. You emanate this beautiful light and a truth, and that is far beyond your years, far beyond just, again, that physical material space that you fill on this globe. It permeates, and it has no time and it has no boundary. So thank you for that. I'm truly in awe of you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So I also wanted to bring up and get your perspective on, I had a boutique on Foothill about 10 years ago. And during that time, I was very much in the thick of day in and day out in our community members coming in and seeking, asking questions, learning about the self, and opening up to that awareness. And probably about a decade ago now, I don't know why I thought 7 years ago, but maybe even a decade ago, everyone was talking about the shift. That was the big thing. That was the conversation going on. There was a shift. There was a shift. But it didn't feel like an actual physical shift. It felt like a topic, and people were aware of it, but as a community, we hadn't shifted forward. There were authors, there were speakers, and gurus, but as a physical being, an entity, mankind hadn't experienced anything. And when this started to happen, this COVID-19, I felt this a hard shift, like when your transmission may be going out. Kaklunk, literally our entire globe physically adjusting, emotionally adjusting, mentally adjusting, and hopefully spiritually adjusting their higher self, the back of their heart. So with that long roundabout question, what is your advice on how people can navigate during what we feel may be a huge opportunity, the shift that everybody was speaking of? How can people navigate through that right now?
I'm First of all, I think that we should probably take the time to mourn a little bit of what's,
Mm.
going on. Um, when you In the beginning, when you spoke of like our we are globally affected by COVID-19, I just had this strong urge to like cry. And I think that it's important for us to not get so distracted with how we're going to keep things as normal as
Mhm.
possible, and just feel what you need to feel. So if it's sorrow, anger, all of the things, it's okay. And maybe a little bit of stillness and solitude is good for you to feel that. Um, and from there, then you can begin to like consider how you want to continue to walk your path in this new way. um, I also think that, it's truly the earth asking us to stop overconsume and to stop overproduce. So that's my advice that I
Mhm.
have to tell myself, every day. Um, it's time to just not to go so hard. We've gone so hard our whole lives.
Yes. I
And
love that.
yeah.
Because I know my kids use that term all of the time, but you're right. As a human species, as mankind, we've gone so hard, and we have forgotten about basics: love, compassion, empathy, kindness, stillness, to create with our energy in our hands rather than mass production and this time of digital. Everything's digital, and it feels like we think AI is going to take over. We have allowed for ourselves to be so um, connected and so what's the word
Protective.
we rely upon it so much that we forget how to be, just to be in
Yeah.
space, to give a hug, to say thank you, and literally to sit with one another, just to sit.
Mm.
So I really appreciate that perspective. You're absolutely right. Um, my other question for you is, and I agree, mourning is so important in our society for so long, especially. And when you were speaking of that, I thought of a child crying. And I thought how our society has always told our children, no, no, don't cry. It's going to be okay. But if you can't move through those feelings and even that energy, even physical energy, if you can't move through it, it will get stuck in a crawl somewhere within, and it will expose itself at another time.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate you identifying that as one of the first things people can do through this and really any growth is to mourn and to sit still and to let it kind of triculate through your physical being as well as your spiritual being. And so once we've done that, so we all start to individually, then within our homes, within our communities, our state, our country, and globally. Once we've, for the most part, got a handle on being able to do that, being real with it, what is your advice or your perspective on how we can identify the strides that we've made individually and collectively? What will we see or feel if we're able to do that?
Good question. And I think you touched on it. I think we'll feel more alive. I think we'll feel more connected. I think we'll feel more empathetic with another. Before all of this, there was just such a mundane routine. Every time I went to the grocery store, every time a student walked into the studio, I could see it on their face. Like it's that wheel, that hamster wheel, and they're just exhausted. There's no uh, connection to your own aliveness. And when you don't have that, you can't connect to someone else. So of course you're going to be grumpy with the person at the grocery store or, the person in traffic or whatever. Like, I just think it'll be those types of ways in which we interact with the world and our communities that you'll really be able to tell, like, hey, you know what, I actually want to help you out with your groceries, or I want to hold the door open for you. Oh, you know what, I'll let you cut me in traffic. It's okay.
Oh, well, do you have any other thoughts, things that I haven't asked of you that you want to share with anyone who's listening in and really appreciating your perspective?
Um, just something that I've noticed every morning when I wake up is, it is springtime now, and it reminds me that nature goes on. It goes on without us. So even though literally our whole world is at a stop, nature is going on. It's doing its thing. I hear the birds in the morning. They're chirping so loudly.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like it's going without us, and
Mhm.
I think it's just inspiring to know that. Um, and it's also, I think it's also encouraging because I know that this will pass and as it will, but we'll come out of it so much more connected with ourselves and connected with one another. And that's my hope. My hope is that we don't use this time to fret and worry so much, but instead use this time to slow down, because we all need to feel the things, and then, you know, trust in the new way, because it's going to happen. So, like, let's soften our grip, right, on the old.
I love that. I really, really love that. So I want to thank you for accepting this invitation to commune and to share light. This was a way for me to be purposeful with the love and um, what I want to share with our global community, those who want to hear what we have to say. And this is really, as I said to you, a start of my personal love letters to humanity. So I really want to thank you for accepting my invitation.
Mm.
And I'd like to summarize our time here with an excerpt from the book, The Invitation, which
Mm.
popped in my head last night as I was contemplating just the energy of being with you at this time. So, from the book, The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. It does not interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing, it does not interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure to be alive. So thank you, beautiful light. I greatly appreciate this. And
Thank
I look
you.
forward to some more.
Yes, thank you for
Some
hosting me, and I love what this is called, a love letter to humanity. It's amazing.
more.
Thank you.
Aw,
I
thank
love
you so
you.
much. I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.